everybody, coming back at you with another update on Fafnir and the raid. I have been making some progress on the account, and I'm really trying to kind of learn the fight. It can get a little disorienting. You can't slow it down. Everything kind of moves very quickly. So I've been spending a few tokens here and there on like kind of easier stages in order to get the fights. And I wanted to kind of give you guys an update on where I'm at on the raid and kind of new strategies and characters that I'm kind of bringing to the fight. So I wanted to start this off by kind of going through Fafnir's skills. So it seems like, because understanding his skills and what he does is going to be important to how you kind of set up your team, whether you want like 2 people in the front, what kind of status removal or cleanses or things to protect against in order to kind of maximize your ability to do damage. So getting into Fafnir's skills, I think the first skill that you're going to see is called Primal Roar, and I believe it damages 3 people, and it applies a negative crit rate, I think 30%, to the front 3 people. It doesn't target the back, but it'll hit your back if you only have 1 in the front and 1 in the mid. So that's something to keep in mind if you don't want your DPS inadvertently getting a minus 30% crit rate. You might want to run a second person in the mid, even though I personally don't, just because I'm running Gleck as my DPS and he gives himself a crit rate buff. Or if you're using somebody who's got guaranteed criticals like Teze, it's not a big deal. So I think the first skill, it just damages 3 people, and he'll do a swipe to one of your tanks. So if you're running Cicero in the front, or if you're running someone else like solo tanking, they're going to take a little bit of extra damage because he's just going to swipe at him. So that's his first skill. His second skill is called Shadow Blizzard, and I believe it damages all 5 people on your team. If not 5, maybe 4, but I think it's all 5. And it applies a dot, like I think the dot's called Shadow Blizzard. I think it just does, like kind of just the way poison works, it does just damage over time. And that applies to your first 2 characters only. It might be 3, we'll check it out during the fight, but I believe it's only to the first 2. Then his third skill is going to be called Blazing Breath, and it damages 3 people, and it applies a negative 20% defense to 2 people, I believe. It's going to be really hard to see it right off the bat, but I think that's the number of people that get debuffed. And the fourth skill is his bar skill. When his bar fills up, he kind of flies up in the air and then swooshes down. And I believe that's a very straightforward attack. It just damages your whole team and does, big numbers. So that's kind of the order that Fafnir is going to go in. You can, especially for the people who are working with like Cicero heals and stuff, you definitely want to time the Cicero heals so that they go off after the semi-AoE abilities, not the ones that damage your whole team. So, for example, Primal Roar and Blazing Breath, I think they only damage 3 people, so that's when you're going to want to time Cicero's heal is after those skills, because Cicero's heal only heals himself and 2 others, and that'll be kind of like perfect. It'll match what the boss is doing. And after Shadow Blizzard and Rage Against the World, I believe it's called, you're going to want to use your main healer's heal skill, or your like Alcon buff heal skills, things like that. So that in that way you can avoid any sort of RNG where your Cicero or your semi healer is not, healing everybody that he should, and then you get kind of smoked in the next AoE. So with the skills out of the way, we're going to get into my comp. So let's start a raid here, and we'll actually go up to level 8 because that's what we've been hitting. We're trying to break that 300k on level 8 mark. So we'll keep it close to the public. I doubt we'll hit 300k just because it's kind of a guide, and I'm going to be missing stuff probably because of the commentary, but we'll see how this goes. So as far as battle plan, you can see this is my team. I am running. I've replaced Cicero. I find that Ophelia is just stronger. and I don't have to worry about weaving in his heals as much. Ophelia's first skill, the one that reduces damage, actually lets me get in more attacks because of how tanky it makes the rest of the team. So that's so I've gone to running Ophelia. I still use Ash for the attack down, although I find that every single time that I play, I seem to weave it in at a different spot. So maybe I'm like taking more damage, maybe I'm getting crit. So his attack seems to kind of weave in and out in different places, which makes it a little bit hard to really understand what's going on because the fights are not all the same. I've replaced Alcon with Elfie. Even though she's just a 1-star, she heals the whole team. And let me see, make sure she heals the whole team. She heals 4, but for the most part, that will take care of the team, especially since Ophelia is healing herself with her grimoire. And then I do have the one of the main reasons I decided to go there, because I figured I have the grimoire for her. So she gets this passive skill right here, where whenever she uses an ability, she also heals the lowest person, like a single target heal. So you're getting a little bit of extra boost. So she's come in really nice, and her attack buff is actually stronger than Alcon's. So she was just kind of an overall upgrade. Other than that, I think nothing's changed. I am using attack down as opposed to damage down. I have a pending discussion on Reddit to kind of make sure that one's better than the other, or if they're not the same or whatnot. So depending on the outcome of that, we might replace Ash, but it's kind of hard to replace a +4 SSR character with a decreased damage debuff on his kit. So alright, so without further ado, let's get into this fight and see if we can kind of focus and make sure we're doing everything right. So I'll probably start off with the attack decrease into Ophelia's buff, and then right into a heal. So let's start off with Ash's into Ophelia's buff, into a heal. Ooh, I'm getting some lag in the Wi-Fi. Okay, so Shadow Blizzard, and it hit. So Primal Roar might hit more people. So that hits just 2. And that hits just 3. So we're going to be cutting a little close here. We're going to go for back-to-back hits with Gleck. And then we're going for a heal all. And then we'll reset. Okay, back to Ash's skill 1. And we'll only break this chain once we start to run low on time. Oh, actually, we'll break the chain right now, because Ash and... So was that Primal Roar? No, that was Blazing Breath. Only hits 2. We're going to put up Ophelia's buff. Should be able to squeak in an attack here. And then make sure we'll reset Gleck's skill with at least 1:30 to go, because I think it's a 70-second cooldown. So we should be able to get one more full rotation in. We'll go ahead and heal. And this should be our last heal. And then we're going to go full-blown damage at this point. We'll use Ashes number 1. Gleck's number 2. Ash should die. Ophelia's gonna die too. I doubt we'll get his next one in. Oh, 4,000 of it. We got close. We're just a few seconds off of 300k. So 297. So that's kind of the rotation. It's kind of hard to narrate the fight at this point because I am doing I'm not doing the limit, but I am doing a challenging raid. So hopefully you guys can follow my presets in the skill order at the bottom. As I touch them, you can kind of see preset 1, preset 2, just to kind of see how I'm managing aggro damage and heals combined with like DPS rotations. But that's where I'm at right now. I've went over it a lot, like who should I use, Cicero or Ophelia. And honestly, like my Cicero was S grade. He had 5-star gear, and it just felt like he was just not, he just wasn't doing it enough. And I really wanted to use like an offensive leadership trait, so I switched to Ashes, and I just was like, all right, screw it. Ophelia is a really, really, really strong tank, even later on in the game, because when I go to like the Japanese tier lists and look at who they're using at this point, like their tier list is chock full with people who aren't in the game yet for us. Like tons of characters that we're not going to see until future updates. However, there are a few characters that kind of still have stuck out as being, the best at their role. And Ophelia is one of those tanks that people are still using her even, a year and a half down the road. She's still relevant. So I figured, what the hell, I'm just going to go into Ophelia. And I used my 810 dupe on her, because I haven't gotten any other dupes for Ophelia. So she's sitting, I did S rank her, so she's my first SSR that I S ranked, and she's just sitting at 1 dupe, and she's super, super tanky. It helps that I have the Grimoire. I don't know how viable she is without the Grimoire, because the Grimoire gives her that whenever she's hit, she starts she puts a hot on herself to heal herself. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I think I went into Ophelia over Cicero. But I do think that managing the damage in the boss, you could use Cicero, and having that defense up on your team is also probably a really good thing. I don't think it negates as much damage as Ophelia's buff, but then again, Ophelia's buff doesn't heal the whole team. So there are definite trade-offs, and I don't think Cicero is someone that can't handle tier 8 and even possibly above. I haven't tried a tier 9 yet, but yeah, I think he's still definitely good. And with that, I think we're going to conclude this kind of mini guide session. Hopefully this helps people out, helps people understand the Fafnir fight a little bit more. And stay tuned, and we'll keep doing this, and we'll come back at you with another video once we make some progress, or once we figure some other key mechanics out. All right, thanks again, guys, for watching, and I really appreciate all the comments and the likes and subscribes. It's been kind of cool watching watching the channel grow and stuff. Even though this is just maybe my first or second Overhit video, it's really appreciated. So thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you again later.